Let's start this baby. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Karl Weaver. My Chinese name is Wei Kar, and I am a wireless market, a mobile device specialist here in the state of Washington. But I've also spent 15 years of my life living and working in Greater China. My entire professional career is dedicated to taking Western technology and getting the technology designed into the Asian consumer electronics supply chain manufacturing ecosystem. So I have known many of these smartphone manufacturers that were small companies and now grown up. I had been doing business with companies like Huawei for more than a decade or so. So I know all the little closets where skeletons are kept in all these companies. And I basically take Western technology and I get it designed into the Asian mobile ecosystem. Now, I'm working for a company called Rivetz Corp, as most recently, and Rivetz, the Chinese is Riwei Shi Gongsi. So Rivetz Corp is a small Massachusetts startup. Steven Sprague's the CEO, and he invited me on board after I had some geopolitical issues with that company, which will remain nameless. He invited me on board because he said, Karl, I can use your expertise. I'm pushing this new technology called dual roots of trust security. And I said, well, my God, what is that? Every time when I'm asked to push Western technology back to the Asian handset manufacturing ecosystem, first I have to learn the nomenclature from English into Chinese. And then I have to push new technology terms that the Chinese have never heard of. So the Chinese is 双颗心梗信任的手机安全. You don't know what that means, right? No. Yeah. It essentially means taking private data in this form, crypto keys, splitting them between the trusted execution environment in the chip and the USIM, universal SIM card, or the eSIM. In this case, probably removable eSIM, because eSIM comes in two form factors: surface mounted onto the device or removable. So I joined this company in 2018. And I've been pushing this technology into Asia, to Samsung, to all the Chinese smartphone manufacturers, and all over Asia for the past 2 years. And it's cool. This technology is very, very interesting and very cool. It's related to the Trusted Computing Group and the Trusted Execution Environment, which is a technology on every single smartphone, including the Apple iPhone. And you software engineers are still scratching your head, what the hell is he talking about? Now, you're European, I'm guessing Scottish.
Northern England, but close.
Okay, so sorry. But you know a little bit about this technology because we just discussed it. I was the first one in the world to push this to the smartphone manufacturers, working for Gemalto in 2018. So let's see. Can somebody help me fast forward the slides? But so what's interesting is Rivetz is building the security mode to allow the users to put control back. Do you realize that we're all essentially our data is being prostituted by Google, by Facebook, by Amazon, and we hardly know it, except when
and the Chinese government.
I will not say or be that political, because I think every government in the world is doing this. And by the way, every company or every government in the world is hacking or trying to hack, or at least trying to spy on everybody else. Everybody is hacking everybody else. Everybody is spying on everybody else. And that is simply a fact. It's simply a fact. The real key point is, why are you trying to learn about somebody else's data, somebody else's information? It is all about collecting information, okay? It's about collecting information for various purposes. In most dark web scenarios, the purpose is to steal something from you. They want your credit card details. They want to steal something from you. Years ago, in places like Asia, they would want to steal your MP3s and MP4. That's petty theft, kind of counterfeit stuff. But it's much more sophisticated now. And that's why the credit card companies have come out with scrambling technologies, tokens, and scramblizing technologies so that they can thwart off these malicious hackers, sometimes state actors. The bottom line is, there will never be any real 100% security as when we don't have governance of all these software and hardware people, because they can go to the dark web, they can be, it's basically, it's an opium. It's an opium where we are being, our data is being sold to the highest bidder, and it's very, very difficult to get caught. And those smart people in the software world know all they have to do is design a program for malware, sell it on the dark web, and bingo, there you are. You've made lots of money doing that. And this thing is going on today, and it will never be stopped until we have governance. And the only way we're going to have governance is everybody join a World Trade Organization, or let's say a United Nations type organization for ethical hackers. Ethical programmers, hackers, anybody who's involved in programming, developing, designing software and hardware together, because they're the ones responsible for this. They're the ones responsible. Not everybody is doing this, of course, but how do we know who's hacking, who's not hacking? It's like, how do we know who has the coronavirus and who doesn't have the coronavirus? You can't discriminate against those things. What you need is governance. And the only way to do that is through the mobile network operators. So they're the only ones who can actually govern such a thing, because it's on devices. Most of the hacking occurs either on the network side. So what is security? Security is two ways, right? It's on the network, it's on the devices, edge devices. On the network side, there's tons of security solutions. On the mobile devices, very, very little. There's the trusted execution environment, and there's secure elements which are embedded somewhere into the mobile device. That's it. Those are the ways you secure. When you have end-to-end security and encryption, then you can really thwart lots of state actors and lots of hackers in the world. But we don't have that. And by the way, as soon as you create a malware and then somebody patches it, somebody else breaches it again, somebody else patches it, this is a vicious circle. You engineering guys, you know this. This is a vicious circle. We non-engineering people are confused. I mean, didn't we patch this malicious attack last week? Oh, but there's a new one. It's never going to stop until we have governance. Anyway, that's my viewpoint on that. Let me move further. So you have an outdated view of the security module, which is, I go to a network. I have to give you my authentication code. I have to give you my details. KYC and AML. I'm giving you, the network, all my data. How can I trust you, actually? There's lots of people in various companies who've been stealing data. It's a fact, even big companies, small companies. So I'm going to trust you? I don't even know who you are. You're a network server. It's a big problem. We think that the best approach is you to collect and store and manage your cryptographic keys. And so are the jiami, right? You want to manage them. You manage them. Not the network manages for you. No, you manage them. And it's the same thing if you have a crypto wallet in the blockchain and you're doing cryptocurrency exchanges. You want to control those crypto keys, because you have tons of keys that are generated every single time you go to a website. You've got all kinds of things happening when you go to a website, and people are collecting that information, and they're analyzing it with big data, and then they're trying to use AI. The goal is they want to know how many things you want to buy on Amazon or eBay, and that's so ridiculous, but it's a fact. When you go to a website, you look at a product, an hour later, 2 hours later, you get an email. Hey, I see you didn't buy that product. Why don't you buy that product? Excuse me, that's an invasion of my privacy. It's an invasion of my privacy. In the blockchain and in cryptocurrencies, what do they do now? There's something called GDPR from Europe. They're saying to Google, they're saying to Facebook, look, you can't just take users' data and do whatever the hell you want to. There's some governance and there's some guidance here, and we're going to set the rules. And they have set the rules. 2 years now, this has been in place. And now California, as of 2020, California has a data protection rule. The state of Washington does not. Hello! State of Washington, get on the ball. Why do you think all these companies from California are coming up here? They like the rain? Hell no, we have no data protection plans, or we have nothing in the works. Yeah, for sure, state legislators, get on the ball. I think it's great we're lobbying for a blockchain utilization in the state. I think that's great, but you're missing the key point. As are most people in the blockchain, they're missing the key point. You will never scale cryptocurrencies beyond early adopters unless you have security. You can't. Impossible. Anyway, let's move forward. Next. So as I said, people want your data. You have no privacy. You have no sovereign privacy, identity, and security on your mobile devices now, especially on Android. These guys are the good guys, actually. Apple are the good guys. And I know people say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Hell I don't. I pushed eSIM into Apple 3-4 years ago. They really care about security. Google, hold on to your wallet. Hold on to your wallet if you're using Google Android operating system. So as I said, actually, blockchain-based identity management is very, very important for all of these companies that are being involved in the blockchain. Blockchain is great, it has cryptography, but the problem is these devices going into the blockchain do not have proper cryptography management of the private keys going into the blockchain. That's the big problem. That's the big problem. You see here that China actually has its own cybersecurity law. That's why in 2019, when you traveled back to China, if you're a US citizen, you were not able to use Alipay or WeChat Pay, right? Have you had that problem with friends?
I never use the WeChat Pay.
Oh, well, let me tell you, when you travel to China, everybody accepts you use Alipay and WeChat Pay because they don't accept debit or credit cards in China in most restaurants these days. It's absolutely unbelievable. You can have real problems unless you have cold hard cash. And some vendors are even saying, I don't want cash. I won't accept cash. It's only Alipay or WeChat Pay. If you haven't been to China in a long time, trust me, it's a real big problem. And the problem was exacerbated because of China's cybersecurity law. They essentially said to Alibaba and Tencent, you need KYC and AML, anti-money laundering protections, and we need to know who these customers are. In the case of foreigners, you've got a foreign credit card and you've got a foreign passport, which are the requirements. But they took almost a year to put this in place, and it's still not perfect. So unless you have a local Chinese debit card or credit card and bank account, you cannot use Alipay and WeChat Pay inside China. It's a huge problem because when you go into China, everybody wants to scan your QR code to do everywhere you go. So it's a big problem. And the 5 most valuable companies in the world, in some form or fashion, they're basically selling your data. And you didn't know about it. It's been going on for a decade. You didn't know about it, and you don't know what to do about it. Next.
Yeah, do you know more about that market, the buyers and sellers of the stolen data?
That's all on the dark web for illegal hackers. But companies like Google, Facebook, they take your data, and you don't even know it, but you're actually, when you become a subscriber, you're actually giving them the authority to use your data for other things. You're giving them the authority because you didn't see the small footprint.
It's like you're leaving your house door open, basically.
Yes.
Come in and out whenever they want.
It's even worse than that because many houses now use Bluetooth technology to open and close the door, but Bluetooth can be hacked by hackers. So it's actually literally an open source problem with all kinds of technologies. But the security, the privacy and the identity problem, Europeans are taking their control back from these mostly American companies. And of course Alibaba is also at fault here. Alibaba and Tencent, those are the 2 top companies in China. But you see, California has its own data protection plan now, so they should have such a data protection plan. And we need one here in Washington State. Maybe after this presentation, they will get off their royal butts and do something about it because we need it. We've got all of these important technology companies here, and we have no data protection plan for the state of Washington. To me, that's ridiculous. To me, that's as important as the blockchain here. Maybe more important because security is the most important thing. You know, mobile payments, which I'll talk about here, were really, most people did not believe in mobile payments when I first came back from China in 2013. They didn't believe in mobile payments. And then Apple proved mobile payments using authentication, biometric authentication, and security, that Apple Pay could actually work, and mobile payments was actually real and actually works well. Who is using mobile payments right now? Who uses mobile payments? Does anybody use their phone to make a mobile payment?
Use Starbucks app.
Cool. Starbucks app is okay because even if there's a security breach on Starbucks app, which there have been, it's a closed system. So it's not an open system. They're using barcode. Barcode, you know, as an engineer, is not safe or secure, but at least it's a closed system. So very few people can actually get access to their servers just by trying to infiltrate the barcode that they use. They also use NFC, and I gave a presentation about that in 2015 at China Harbor Restaurant. Very, very important presentation about Apple Pay at the point of sale. Okay, we call it. Well, anyway, it's Apple Pay at the point of sale. So mobile payments are actually very, very important for your security as well. Because why do they want to breach your data? They want to steal things from you. They want to steal your identity, but hackers want to steal your credit card details. They want to steal your credit card details. Now, we provide decentralized cybersecurity. How do we do that? We provide standards. These are wireless standards. If you've never heard of these things before, these are what you find on smartphones. Global platform standardizes the trusted execution environment, 可信执行环境, right? The SIM card and the eSIM. And what they do is with these technologies, they isolate two operating system environments. One is the open operating system that everyone gets access to, and the other one is a secure operating system in the chip that you can only get access if you pay money for. That's the only way you get access. And that's called the trusted execution environment. That's been around since 2006, and ARM is the biggest proponent pushing that. There's the company that started the technology called Trustonic, which it was originally called Trusted Logic. Anyway, now, so decentralized cybersecurity. How will you get decentralized cybersecurity, at least on devices? You have to have standards on those devices. Fortunately, every major smartphone in the world, tier 1 and tier 2, are using all this technology right now.
Are there regulations to steal data or norms or anything like that?
Regulations to steal data?
Yeah, is there you have to do it like a particular way? Is there a right or wrong way to do it?
Well, you don't want to steal data. You don't want to steal data. You want to protect data. I think that was your question.
But you said there's companies that are stealing data.
There are individual hackers. There are lots of bad guys. I don't know who they are, but they're there. They're there. They're stealing information. They are not happy with the fact that these are good security standards, which provide an isolation kernel. This technology is in place to stop those hackers from getting to your data.
Okay.
That's what they're there for. Now, the blockchain, right, and there's decentralized apps, smart contracts, decentralized tokens. These are all what you use in the blockchain in order to perform and do things in the blockchain.
I understood like you were talking about like it was a good thing to steal data.
No, of course
I
not.
understood it.
No, it's not a good thing. This keeps people up at night. But what we do is we protect the payments, your identity, your information assurance, and compliance and policy. So without security, it's anarchy. Without security, all those ships would be crashing into each other. And that's kind of like the cryptocurrency world right now. Although it's decentralized and nobody owns it, the security mechanisms there are so bad, and that's why people's cryptocurrency private keys are being stolen, and that's why crypto exchanges are being hacked. Nobody has put into place a standard to protect accessing the blockchain. Once you're in the blockchain, it is secure using cryptography, but it's accessing the blockchain by state actors, by hackers who want to cause malicious activity. That's the bad thing. That's what we're trying to avoid. That's why this is what our company does. We're moving security and policy beyond the edge into your cryptographic keys. Every time you make a transaction, every time you buy something, every time you sign up for an app, your data is stored on smartphones, and they're stored in many cases in the open operating system, and hackers can get to that data. They can know exactly what you bought the last 24 hours if they can hack your smartphone.
How did you come up with the title decentralized cybersecurity? What makes you believe it's decentralized? In what way?
Oh, the blockchain is decentralized.
because the blockchain
By
is decentralized.
Oh, okay.
The blockchain is decentralized. It's decentralized, so nobody owns it, nobody controls it, but there's lacks security of it.
And the technology you're trying to propose is,
Next slide.
doesn't mean it's necessarily decentralized, right?
It is decentralized because the apps that people use in the blockchain are decentralized. See, they're special apps. They're called D-apps. They're decentralized apps. So there is a concept called a blockchain smartphone. And I'll show you, there are a few companies that are making blockchain smartphones right now. The biggest, the most famous, the well-known is Samsung. They have 2 blockchain smartphones right now. And South Korea is absolutely the most sophisticated blockchain country in the world. America doesn't compete. Even China, which has all the mining, or 70% of all the mining, Wacom, right? Even China, which does lots of the mining for Bitcoin, can't compete with the network that's been set up in South Korea. It's much more sophisticated because China they block Bitcoin, and they block crypto wallets. They block all that stuff. It's all illegal. But the mining is still legal because, of course, lots of people are making money mining Bitcoin in China.
So it's illegal in China but legal in Korea is what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And Samsung is behind creating an entire ecosystem, including mobile network operators, banks, even KakaoTalk, which is a really cool chat app in South Korea.
Which 2 devices that you said that you have?
Yeah, one is the Samsung Galaxy S10, which has its own crypto wallet and key store, the Samsung Galaxy S10, and then there's a Clayton phone from Samsung, and they label it as Clayton phone, and it's only sold in South Korea, and it's basically the Samsung Galaxy S10. It has its own, and it has more access to South Korea's blockchain ecosystem, like KakaoTalk comes pre-installed, and various South Korean decentralized apps. Very cool, very cool. So this is our business model. Rivetz is paid. Rivetz is paid for services and policies per app and per device. So our business model, how we make money is we provide the policies and the devices and the services, and we deliver revenue, subscribers, low churn, things like that. This is just our business model. Next, I won't spend too much time on that. So we provide third-party apps, our own wallet, but our wallet is only going to smartphone vendors. There are about 200 or 300 wallet vendors out there. If you want to download a crypto wallet to trade cryptocurrencies, there's got to be at least 200 or 300 of them out there. But our wallet is only going to the smartphone manufacturers because they actually want to have their own wallets. Samsung has its own wallet. HTC has its own wallet. I'll talk more about the actual blockchain smartphones. We have something called an authenticator. They call it a 2FA, two-factor authenticator. That means when you want to authenticate who you are on your smartphone or on your PC, we provide a mechanism, and ours is inside this thing called the TE, but we provide a mechanism for you to securely take a code and send it back to you to authenticate on the web, on the internet. We call it two-factor authentication. When you're going to sign up for a new bank account, when you're going to sign up for a new app, you always have a 2FA. They send you a code, you authenticate that by typing in the code, then they know that you are who you say you are. The biggest problem with thievery on the blockchain right now is people pretending to be somebody else. And it's also the biggest problem with fake news as well, especially fake news trying to send that as a smart contract into the blockchain. And right now, with the coronavirus, there's lots of fake news, right? Tons of fake news. People are confused. Well, what's real? How many people have died? How many people have not died? It's a real problem in China right now. Fortunately, the Chinese government is using the blockchain right now to attestate how many real deaths. I mean, they're using the blockchain. It's a really cool, it's a tragedy, but it's a really cool usage of the blockchain. They have a map, and it's real time showing how many people have been cured, how many people died, and how many people are infected. And you see it every day. That is sent to the blockchain, and you can't change it. You can't. It's real. It's real. It's not fake. It's a government. You've seen it, right?
I haven't. I'm not following.
Every single day, they send it through the blockchain out to the world. You can't hack it. It's in the blockchain already. It's using consensus, so it's been authenticated. It's really cool. So, in some tragedies, there's some positive things going on for technology inside China. So we have our own network. We actually have our own token. We're what we call an ICO, which means Initial Coin Offering Company. That means that you generate money by distributing a coin to be used in the blockchain. We have a coin to do that. It's called RVT. You can check it on crypto currency sites. We use that to write smart contracts into the blockchain. So that's how we generate our income, and we also have our network for the security. So next.
Is there a correlation between the coronavirus and this technology, or it has nothing to do with it?
No.
Oh, okay.
But actually, my wife just came back from Taiwan, and my wife is self-monitoring herself. So she came back 2 days ago. She's buying all her groceries online. Even Taiwan has minor problems with the coronavirus. My wife is. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, but I'm not wearing a mask in my home. But my wife is self-censoring. She just came back from Taiwan. So this is a big issue for anybody involved in the Chinese world. And it's not just a Chinese problem. This is a global pandemic now. We all need to be concerned. But very few people in the West are. And the first case in North America was 25 minutes from here in Everett. Fortunately, I think that guy's out of the hospital, right? So that's a very good thing for the state of Washington. I think we've done a great job. Anyway, back to our RVT token and what we actually do. Our capabilities are secure display, key storage, secure PIN. We protect on the smartphone all of these things. And biometrics is thumb, face, even heartbeat, even blood, right? Those are biometric sensor things that are turned into software, digital software, right? But on a smartphone, it's just software. And hackers can steal that software. It's an algorithm. Hackers can steal that stuff. So we protect it inside the chip with the trusted execution environment. And the major applications, the biggest one in the world today is mobile wallet. Apple is using it for Apple Pay. Alibaba, Tencent, demanded by the Chinese government to use the trusted execution environment to protect their mobile wallets. Chat app and voice apps, actually they need protection as well. Chat apps need protection, especially because they're doing payment. The biggest use case for chat apps these days is adding a mobile wallet. That's why you see Libra and Calibra. Facebook was trying to push this Libra and Calibra technology. Well, they need to protect that Calibra inside the TE, but they didn't. So I can see why this organization hasn't flown yet. It's not doing very well. And we also can authenticate cloud. Next. Now here's a real key point.
Can you talk about what's a secure display?
So secure display is when you want to, let's say, go into your mobile wallet, with a keystroke mechanism, hackers can actually infiltrate your wallet and do things, and you've seen this on keyboards that have viruses. The keyboard, somebody's taking control of your keyboard. Well, the same thing can occur on a smartphone. And so you want to secure those keys on the physical display. And that's what we do with our technology, with using the trusted execution environment. So, because when you launch the program, it's not launched in the open operating system of the device. It goes right into the chip. It goes right into the chip. No way you can infiltrate it, because it's in the chip already. It's in the chip. And by the way, it has to be designed in the chip to work in the chip. So it's not like I can download an app and I'm using the TEE. Oh no. The developer of the app, we talk to, we give them the tools to secure their app inside the TE. That's how it works. We give them the tools, developer tools. They develop their app to immediately go right into the chip and perform some activity. Make a payment, play a game. It's like a storage facility. It's like a security vault, and it's in your smartphone. And it's been there 8 or 9 years, and you didn't even know it. And it's been working 8 or 9 years. And Apple Pay introduced it in 2013, and we didn't even know that. Well, I told the world that in 2013, after returning from China. In November 2013, I told the world that. In Bellevue Chamber of Commerce. Anyway,
Has your phone been hacked?
my phone has not been hacked, because I'm using an iPhone. Fortunately, I'm using an iPhone, but I also, I demo our technology on a Samsung smartphone. And cell phones can be hacked. But the great thing about Apple is every few weeks, they're sending you a new software upgrade. They're really cleaning the registries and doing all kinds of important things to make sure your phone is virus-free and malware-free. That's really what Apple does. They do a great job.
Are you an advocate for Apple phones?
No,
Okay.
I just own one because I think the technology is good. And also, for people under the age of 40, Apple was the oldest technology company on the planet. Apple was around before Microsoft. It's the oldest consumer electronics technology company on the planet. And consumer electronics, you and I are about the same age, you'd probably agree with me. Apple was around before Microsoft. The Mac was around before Windows, before DOS OS. Anyway, that's a long story we shouldn't get into. The key point is, I think when a company is approached multiple times by the FBI to put a backdoor into the smartphone and they say no, I think that offers a level of credibility. What do you think? I don't know.
So how did you do this? By encrypting the SD card, whatever the memory chips inside? The encrypted
No, let me
flash?
go, no. Let me go further, because next. You want a simple explanation for for a complex technology, so I have to go through the whole presentation. But I think at the conclusion of the presentation,
I'll be convinced.
I don't say that, but you will be more enlightened. You won't have to go to India to study Buddhism, but you will be more enlightened, okay? So, look, see what's happening? Hackers recognize that smartphones can have lots of money in them. And we're not talking about your Visa, MasterCard details, because you might not have much money in your Visa and MasterCard. Because you can only steal so much before Visa, MasterCard find out. You can only make so many transactions, and they have fraud teams, they know. But if you've got cryptocurrency, and you store 10,000 Bitcoin, and it's stolen, it's gone, and you're never gonna get it back. And you might have to pay taxes on something that's been stolen from you. It's a terrible thing, really. So, and that can happen on Android smartphones, and it was actually possible to happen on the iPhone, except I think mid 2019, Apple provided an SDK for crypto wallets. Not much fanfare. They just said, we have an SDK for you crypto wallet developers using our phones. They provided an SDK which allowed you to get access to the TEE. If you're a crypto wallet developer, they provided the SDK, which means they recognize that people are trying to steal cryptocurrency on these smartphones. Rivetz developer tools protect the private keys from hackers on downloaded non-custodial. Because it's better to have a people say, well, I just let the server, I let the crypto exchange company deal with my cryptocurrency. That's the worst thing to do, because their exchanges have all been hacked. They've all been hacked, and they have no excuse except to say, oh, well, I have a contingency plan. I've got money. We'll give you all your money back. That's not the answer, right? That's not the answer. So non-custodial means you take control back of those crypto keys. You control them. You manage them. So that's really what you want. So that's what we're doing on Android smartphones for you users. Next. So I talked about, we have a relationship with Telefonica. Telefonica provides well, they have something called 11th Paths, which is their cybersecurity division in Spain. And their cybersecurity division is very aggressive to push blockchain out to the world. But they recognize they can't push blockchain and things like cryptocurrency usage unless they have security. So we partnered with them in 2019, actually 18 it started, and we're providing something called dual roots of trust security. Because every single smartphone has a root of trust. You shouldn't crack that root of trust. That root of trust is the only thing stopping the security and your identity from hackers. And that root of trust is basically, it's software embedded into hardware. It's software embedded into hardware. You will never have security on software only on any mobile device.
If
It
you
has
know
to be.
if you know a hacker, you should give me their business card so I can apply for a job with them.
That may be a short-term gig for you. Next. And, I don't know hackers, but they sure know me. Next slide. So now we're going to get in, and I had this in Chinese too, but I can send you the Chinese version later. So how does it work? You have, first of all, nobody makes mobile processor chips in America anymore. No. Because Intel doesn't make mobile processor chips. They make chips for servers, right? So Intel's still got a bunch of plants in America and is Israel. The only plant outside North America, as far as I can tell. Any Intel people, you know that, because Israelis have very good security. But the mobile apps processor chip business is controlled by where? Taiwan. TSMC. Qualcomm doesn't make chips, right? All these companies don't make chips. They outsource everything to TSMC in Taiwan. So actually Taiwan is the most important semiconductor place in the world today. If they were to ever have problems there, then it would be tragic for the whole world. So what ARM and Trustonic do is ARM is a chip IP licensing company, the biggest in the world. 98% of all the IP on chips comes from ARM. ARM was originally a British company, was bought by SoftBank. SoftBank is Japanese. SoftBank also owns who? Sprint.
But it's not really Chinese, it's mostly Korean, because the guy was from Korea.
The guy is actually ethnic Korean, and he lives in Japan, and he owns SoftBank, and he's invested he has a lot of investments. He owns ARM. He's pushing ARM technology into Sprint right now. That's why I know eSIM is going to flow into Sprint, and eventually, because it's bought by T-Mobile. Anyway, back to the point here. You have your chip hardware, right? This is your mobile apps processor chip, which is in all smartphones. But then what's inside of that chip is it's like a firewall, but it's actually a security vault. It's called the Trusted Execution Environment, which is actually an operating system. It's an operating system operating in a firewall. The firewall is called ARM Trust Zone. Okay, it's like a secure place. It's like a parking lot where you store, or it's like your storage facility. You store things. That's called ARM Trust Zone. But there's a security OS that allows you to take everyone's app and securely store it into the chip. And that's called the TEE, Trusted Execution Environment, which is in the chip. What we do is we simply take the keys and we apply rules inside the security operating system inside the chip. That's pretty simple, right? You got it, right? I know you're a little bit not as, okay, but you got it, right? What we've done, nobody else in the world has done. We've taken your private keys, which come in here, right? We bring them in here, but we split them between the SIM card or the USIM card. Remember, USIM can be removable. So we take your private keys and we split them. Two roots of trust for a hacker to try to infiltrate. They usually give up after the first. But we've got two roots of trust on the same smartphone.
What do you mean by split? Two copies?
We call it data.
Part
We call it data at rest. We're actually splitting the contents of the crypto key between two different enclaves.
So
These are
the same
enclaves.
key, you just chop it in somewhere and put half here for half there.
Yes. And if one is breached, you can't access the phone from the other one. They both must be in operating order in order to access the crypto. It's really cool, actually, right? It's very, very cool if you think about it. So that's what we're doing. We call it dual roots of trust, and we've been working with Telefonica on something called carrier level immutable protection. It's a laboratory that we've been working with them on in California.
Is it like an airplane where it has like twin engines, if one goes down, the other one's still running, or these are not like that? These are, if one goes down, so does the other one?
Actually, the way that we've set it up, if the SIM card is not inserted into the phone, if this SIM card is removed from the phone, you can't access the data. That's very cool. You have to insert the SIM card. And so in order to tell the technology is working, just take the SIM out of the phone, and nobody can get access to your crypto wallet and your keys. So yes, and in fact, that is kind of how it works. Both sides have to be working at the same time. You think to yourself, oh, that's a little troublesome. No. The goal here is to stop hackers. That's the goal, to stop hackers. With hackers, everything is return on investment. And if you make it difficult for them, you're actually beating them. You're beating the system. Next.
So if I gonna change my carrier, get a new SIM card, how would I put the other half of the key to the new SIM card?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. All the operators would all have to be using the technology, and they are not now. So to answer your question, this technology has not been fully, proof of concept has already been proven in Barcelona, Spain, not this year, last year in Barcelona, but we haven't gone beyond the main operator, Telefonica. To sell technology to operators, you have to convince them that the technology is important. The problem is very few operators have a blockchain strategy. Very few operators have a blockchain strategy. Even in this day and age, they don't have a strategy. Telefonica does. They're the most aggressive. We are talking to other European operators. I tried to talk to Sprint, to T-Mobile over there, the blockchain guy involved in T-Mobile's blockchain architecture. I showed him all this technology. Okay. Not aggressive enough. Americans are laggards with payment and security, I'm sorry to say. Can I say that and not get my ass kicked? It's fact. Americans are laggards with payment and security. And we've got so many great people here, but we don't focus on security or payments in this state. It's a tragedy, actually. It's a tragedy. Anyway, that's a fact. These are facts. I tried to push this technology for at least 1 year to T-Mobile.
So you're saying that Spain is the most aggressive one?
I say Telefonica and other European operators are the most aggressive, as they are very aggressive with payment and with security. And that's the reason why in 2008 I was invited by a French company from Seattle to scale this technology, payment and security technologies, in China. Because China makes all the technology. European companies have the encryption technology and security, and they're bringing it to China to scale in the production of the technology.
So you're saying it's a partnership for security?
Yeah, because Americans don't make things anymore. We don't make hardware anymore. So it's all outsourced to Asia, generally speaking. And that can be a problem at times if you don't know who's manufacturing your technology, or if malicious actors want to get involved in infiltrating the hardware or the software. And that's what's going on. We want to stop that, you know. And throwing, slinging mud at one company or another company is not the way to solve security. It's not the way to solve security. So accusing company A and company B and company C of doing this and doing that, it doesn't help the whole security world. It doesn't enhance security. You're just separating us from them. We're the ones who care about this and that, and those guys aren't. And I guess what I would say is, actually Huawei has very good security on the smartphones. My God, how could I say such a thing? But it's a fact. It's a fact. They do have very good security on the smartphones. I know because I'm involved in this ecosystem from a global perspective.
What do you like about their security?
Oh, so they've enabled the TEE, and they've enabled their own secure element in the chip, because Huawei owns HiSilicon, and HiSilicon is their own chip company. So HiSilicon outsources to Taiwan as well, right? Because everybody does. HiSilicon with Huawei have created a situation using the TEE and the embedded SIM in the chip to have a high level of security. Now, in the security world with smartphones and with operators, we have something called evaluation level assurance. Evaluation assurance level, EAL, okay? And it's involved with something we call common criteria. And there are levels of security on all the hardware and software. So for example, if it's just software, your level of security is like 0 or 1, you know this. Highest level is 6 or 6 plus, which is what? A SIM card. The TE falls somewhere in the middle, like 2.5 plus. What Huawei has done is they've taken the TE plus the SIM card in the chip, and they've scaled to 5 plus. And nobody else has done that. So it's really, really good security. All right. So Huawei is a huge corporation, and when they want to do something, they just spend a lot of money and they do it. So Huawei has good security. Irrelevant of all the things that have been said about Huawei and their smartphones, the smartphones are very good. It's a fact. It's a fact.
And what type of services within the security do they provide?
So they're using the trusted execution environment right now to protect Alipay and WeChat Pay, but they've gone beyond it, every other smartphone vendor on the planet, to protect a whole host of different apps on their smartphones. For example, in America we use a driver's license for identity, right? We use a driver's license because, my God, we're laggards, right? This is all we use. Right? We even use this to get on a plane, right? In Europe they use the EU ID card, right? Well, in Asia they just use the national ID card, Shenzhen. Huawei smartphones, you can scan your national ID card in the phone, and the phone becomes a valid, legal device to attestate that national ID card. Nobody else in the world has done that. Huawei and Xiaomi phones have that feature right in there now because of China UnionPay pushing that out to them. So I told you about the Chinese cybersecurity law. The Chinese care about KLM. They care about, KYC, know your customer, and AML, anti-money laundering. They care about those things. And Huawei phones, irrelevant if Huawei's a state-owned company, a private company, irrelevant of all that, their phones have very good security and technology, and we don't even have that technology, and Apple doesn't have that technology yet. So let's just not BS, okay? Let's just be honest about things, which I always am, right? Next, let's keep, okay, here we go. Back to this. So for engineering people, our policies are keys, right? Protection of the keys. But we use an attestation server for the hash inside of the chip. So we can have instructions occur going into the blockchain, but from the chip. So no state actor can get to it while it's going into the blockchain. We have an Oracle data here, along with the hash to, this is like the smart contract side. This is the Ethereum side. We're ERC20 for our token. And then you have a trusted display, so nobody can access the smartphone when it's performing its transactions. So this is like trusted input and output. So anything coming in, anything going out is secured. This is the way you do it on a smartphone. Apple's not doing that yet. We hope one day they will. I'm sure that they will. We're doing that on for our Android smartphones. And we're selling this technology to smartphone manufacturers. And most of them are Chinese, by the way.
What do you mean by the Oracle data? It's like a local database sitting on the phone, or?
No, it's a special data.
Go to the cloud?
Yes.
Go to your own cloud, like the
Yes.
Rivetz cloud.
Yes. Our Rivetz network. Next.
Can you still get your identity stolen even though your driver's license is in your phone?
If it's not being protected with the trusted execution environment or stored in the SIM card, yes. Especially on Android. And until Apple has an app that protects your national ID card, and I believe one day we will have all this technology, but the Chinese are more advanced than we are with this technology. I believe one day we will all be able to have our driver's license in the smartphone. It will happen. It will. It's going to take a long time. But when it's there, it needs to be secure. You don't want to put together, you don't want to put it in there and have a hacker have the ability to steal it. So you really want software embedded into hardware. You want all this data to be embedded in tamper-resistant hardware. That's what this is all about.
But
The
what
TEE
if you lose your phone? What do you do?
Oh, that's a good question. So
So
if
do
you-
you go buy another phone
No,
and
no, no,
rescan your?
No, that's the reason why you
That's
work with
the
the net.
problem, right?
No. So you have the ability to retrieve the keys with mnemonic expressions that you set up, almost like you're doing the same thing for cryptocurrency. When you want to store the cryptocurrency, you have mnemonic keys. The same thing our network allows you to create mnemonic keys that can be spread between your other devices, also your friends and family. So if you lose the smartphone with those keys on other devices or on our network can still be retrieved. Who likes that? Telefonica likes that. Because Telefonica knows people lose their smartphone. They will want to charge you to retrieve your keys. You're not going to get the phone back. That's somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. After somebody, if they can't steal it, they might toss the phone. If they can't get into your 4 or 6 digit PIN code on your iPhone, that phone has no value to them. They're going to toss it into the Atlantic Ocean. You probably will never get that phone back. But your private keys, which is what we do, protect private keys. We're not Apple. We're not an insurance company. We're protecting private keys, and we have the ability for you to retrieve those keys through friends, family, and other devices where the keys are also stored. We spread the keys on other devices with our network, which is kind of cool, which is very, very cool, actually, because that is a big problem. It's a big problem. This is just smart instructions, data with evidence. I don't want to talk too much about that, but this is kind of showing, because I know our colleague here is an engineer, a very sophisticated engineer, right? Pretty much. Our applications are used for IoT. This will lead into my next presentation, by the way, blockchain and cloud. So I don't want to talk too much about that. Next. And we're almost at the end. So I mentioned to you that there are blockchain smartphones. And by the way, the other part of this presentation, which I've given 4 times in China, 4 times in China, and a few times back here, I was talking about China's DCEP, the sovereign digital currency. China's going to launch its own sovereign digital currency. And then we're going to be really worried. But you know what? Many countries around the world are going to have their own digital currency too. It's going to happen. A digital currency, like a stable coin, tied to 1-to-1. Equal renminbi, 1 renminbi to 1 stable coin. Actually, there are stable coins in existence right now in the blockchain. There's a company here called Stably. They have a stable coin. You know that. So central banks around the world recognize to hedge themselves against Donald Trump's crazy policies at times, feel the importance to create their own digital currency. And the Chinese just realized that they want to create their own digital currency, and they've done it. Lord knows when they're going to launch it, but it's pretty much ready, right? Everything you've read, it's pretty much ready. It's called DCEP, Digital Currency Electronic Payments. The Chinese have been working on it for 5 years, and they're about to launch it. I didn't talk about that in this presentation because I didn't know if we were interested.
So you're talking mostly about the hardware.
What DCEP is a digital currency that's created to be used in the blockchain in replacement of cryptocurrencies because they banned that inside China.
So you're
This is a little bit different.
yeah. So your technology here, how would that change the transmission of communication between?
Oh, remember it's digital currency. It's just software.
Okay.
It still needs to be protected in tamper-resistant hardware. It's just software. That's all it is.
Is it going to change other technologies too, like between satellites?
Well, the Chinese will control theirs, right? They will control theirs. The question is, will they allow foreigners to use and trade in their currency? I don't know that. I mean, I haven't had a cup of coffee with Xi Jinping yet, so I don't know. One thing that I do know is other countries and other governments and other central banks around the world are looking at this program from China, and they're saying, if the Chinese do it, we should do it. And the Germans have already been talking about doing this. This is a hedge against the US dollar. The US dollar was the world's currency, the reserve currency, the stable reserve currency. But a lot of people around the world are not very happy with Donald Trump's plans and the things that he's done in the world, and they feel I need to actually develop my own sovereign digital currency, and that's what they're doing. China is about to launch it. Just want to let you know. This is, I think, the final slide, one of the final slides, which is, yes, there are smartphones that are blockchain enabled and designed. There are a bunch of them here. HTC, Samsung, Samsung's Note Clayton phone, Cern Labs, an Israeli company, and Pundi, which is a hybrid Chinese firm. But what is a blockchain smartphone? The ability to store cryptocurrencies and decentralized apps. That's what a blockchain smartphone is. Enhanced TE secure enclaves. They all are using the TE to protect the private keys, the crypto keys. They're all doing that. And then finally, your smartphone can be a node, and some smartphones can actually do mining, which you can actually make money. Mining, when your phone is not being used, you can sit it there and it can actually mine.
Drain your battery power. Who wanna do that?
Next. Okay. So in summary, crypto keys, are protected by measured hardware. What you see is what you sign. Oracle data with strong integrity. Keys with policies and control, trusted input for provable consent. Privacy and security is built in. It's built into all the phones. So it's not like, well, I don't want it. Well, it's already there. It's built into every single, I enabled this technology for Gemalto starting from 2010 until I left 2013. And of course, Trustonic took over from when I came back to America. And this technology is in it's even in the iPhone. It's in the iPhone. When you touch your thumb to authenticate, it uses a biometric algorithm, which is software, that goes immediately into the TE so that hackers can't steal this thumb data.
You're not scared that someone's gonna steal your business ideas and.
Well, it's stealing it. Data is the new oil. Data can be your credit card payment details, your credit card number. It's just digital data, and you have to protect all of it. You have to protect it all. Next. That's me. So that's the end of this presentation. It took a little bit longer, but I don't mind answering questions because I think the more people I can evangelize about this technology, which by the way, this is not vaporware, this is all existing technology, but we Americans are unaware of it because it didn't come from America. Let's go to the next slide, the next presentation. See how politically incorrect I am? But don't worry, I have a US passport, they won't throw me out. All right, so this is my second presentation, which is kind of cool. So I just joined a company, an ex-Gemalto colleague of mine invited me on board because he said, Karl, we need some global help. He actually invited me to go work in Shanghai, and I said, yeah, someday soon. I'm not going to China right now, nor would you, right? I mean, you can't go to China right now. They banned all flights into China. They banned all flights on Western Airlines. But I just joined this company. This company is, it's called Iot, okay? And this is a Shanghai ex-Gemalto GM of the IoT division that hired me to help him with global business. I just joined this month and I've been coming up to speed on DingTalk, which is like WeChat, and WeChat too. And what they do is they supply an SDK, software development kit, right? An SDK, which is software, gets embedded into, kind of like this picture, it gets embedded into hardware, okay? So it's an SDK, a blockchain of AI things. So what does BOAT? What does BOAT mean? BOAT simply means blockchain of artificial intelligent things. What does AI mean? AI means Internet of Things. Well, you just use the same term. It's everything is using the internet, okay? So it's artificial intelligence of things. In the future, every single device will add AI, and the AI will be using big data, right? It'll be using AI to analyze how the data is being processed. And you might say, well, I don't know. Well, actually, yeah, because if it's going to connect to the internet, it needs something called an IoT module. Your car has an IoT module. Your phones have a mobile apps processor chip, so they don't need an IoT module. But there are many devices that use an IoT module. So the IoT module is actually very, very important. The IoT module vendors, they've added the AI already into their modules. Okay? We take that AI and the IoT, we add the blockchain to it. That's what we do with our SDK. We're adding the blockchain, because it's still very new. Adding the blockchain to cellular IoT modules, it's a new concept. That's what we are doing. We add the blockchain to cellular modules. And we're using 3 very important disruptive technologies in the world today. We're using the blockchain. We're using cellular IoT modules. We don't make the modules, but our technology goes into the modules. And we access the blockchain, but we also are using artificial intelligence because the module has the artificial intelligence, which is collecting data, which we now call big data. Clear, right? Clear as mud? Okay. Let me go on. Next. So, vote. The future of navigating IoT with the blockchain for security and attestation, which just means attesting that something is real. Because there's too much fake data in the world. I'm not fake, I'm real. 100%. Italian, Irish American from Boston. All right. So look at the technologies here. The internet. The reason I told the CEO of the company, you need to have a picture of a boat or a sailboat there, because we're navigating. We're technology navigators, right? We're technology navigators. We're using blockchain, the Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. All 3 of these technologies in order to navigate blockchain for these IoT modules. That's it. Next. So, blockchain, cellular IoT modules, 防握模块 in Chinese, right? And artificial intelligence. My company combines 3 disruptive and growing technologies influencing the world today to ensure a more secure future for trusted computing. The term trusted computing, the TE. Now it comes back, right? Because it's on hardware. Even IoT modules are using the TE. You see how important what you learned tonight? You're going to have nightmares. Oh my God, this guy Karl is talking about the TE. You're going to have nightmares tonight about the TE. The TE is nothing but a very cool, secure technology used in hardware. And well, you need IoT. You need in IoT, you're protecting 5G, autonomous vehicles, Industry 4.0, and robots, right? This is the IoT world that you will be involved in or somehow influenced by. The next car you buy will probably have an IoT module for 4G connectivity, right? And it'll probably have some kind of hub in the car to manage your connectivity. Hell, your car may even be able to talk to another car as it's driving down the road, right? If you've got a high-end car. Blockchain, distributed ledger, dApps, and tokens. That's what the blockchain provides, right? And also attestation and security. And of course AI, which is what? Machine learning, big data, and data science and big data. AI simply takes all the data that people have been collecting, right? This comes back to privacy. They've been taking all the data, they've been conglomerating it, and they call it big data. Because AI is able to take the right data and conglomerate it. The real question is, what the hell are they doing with that data? What are they doing with that data? We want our sovereign digital privacy, identity, and security when AI is used to collect the data. AI just collects the data and analyzes the data.
And who stores that?
Well, in this case, it's stored in IoT modules by the various hardware vendors that buy the IoT modules, who do what? They design it, they embed it into a device, and then it's sold to a service provider, an operator, a car company, right? That's the flow. So along the way, you want to make sure that you have checks and balances so that the security is assured in each case, and nobody's manipulating or causing mischief with the data. That's what you want all along the way. So when you can be sure that the technology is being protected in the device, software embedded into hardware, when you can assure that, then you can at least stop at least abuse of the data in many, many ways. You can stop the abuse of data. Like for example, if Visa were cracked, if your Visa card were cracked or your Apple Pay were cracked, how many people would really want to use it? It's really important that they can make sure that nobody can crack their Apple Pay data. Apple Pay has never been cracked because they have really good protection in technology in these devices when they're doing a payment. You want the same kind of activity with all of the technology you use. You want to be assured that the technology is not going to be stolen. But if you have a crypto wallet and you're storing cryptocurrency on an Android smartphone, you don't have any security. It's being stolen. There's a guy from who stored lots of money and he had a SIM swapping attack. He's suing. There are two companies, the two operators in America being sued now. I don't want to name the names because we're public. There are two companies being sued for SIM swapping attacks. Two companies, actually, because people want to get those private keys. And so your cryptocurrency is really just, that you have in cryptocurrency you've got a public and private key pair. The public key is giving out to know, you can give that out so people know you've got the currency. The private key you don't give out unless you're actually selling it. So you've got a public-private key pair. You want to secure the private key and tamper-resistant hardware. That's what you want to do. Okay? So blockchain, AI, and IoT are all technology disruptions. Blockchain promotes decentralized apps in an open data environment. It's all open. Nobody owns the blockchain. Nobody. AI provides the intelligence through a decentralized data analytical platform, analyzing, collecting the data, and the IoT enables the device to be connected via a centralized cloud to process. So the IoT module is really like a robot. Your IoT module is like a robot with a cell phone. The robot is nothing unless he can communicate. And how does he communicate? Let's not use a robot. I'm a machine. I'm sitting on the top of Mount Rainier. I'm doing my job, but nobody knows who I am. But I have a cell phone, or I have an IoT module, and I can communicate with the rest of the world and do all kinds of fantastic, cool things with my machine. I'm a robot, but you don't know where I am until I can communicate through the internet, and I can send all kinds of great data, like when it's going to snow and things like that. So it's really an IoT module that becomes the robot and is able to do all kinds of great things or maybe malicious things too. I try and use that analogy to explain to you what the IoT, how important the IoT module is. It is like the central hub, or it's the central importance of any Internet of Thing. Anything that wants to use the internet and wirelessly connect, it needs a module, a connectivity module. Okay, next. So at our company, at Atos, our goal is data privacy. So the reason why I'm telling you all these things is because these IoT modules aren't safe or secure either. That's why they're used. That's why we're providing the SDK. We're providing the additional security of these IoT modules, right? We're providing the additional security of these IoT modules using the trusted execution environment and the blockchain. Because once it's in the blockchain, it has cryptography, and you really can't change like a smart contract that's written unless you go out and modify it. So it's really about data privacy, protection inside IoT devices, device equipment, and along with trusted ID, authentication to prevent data breaches from the source. So it really is, it's privacy and security and identity, but it's not of you, it's of devices. What is the IoT? Internet of Things. You're not a thing, you're a human being. You use this to communicate normally. Machines use IoT modules, you see? So our SDK is for guarding your IoT device wallet. And we think that machines are also wallets. One day, your car will be able, you'll just push a button, you'll be able to pay for the toll going over the bridge. Just push a button, you'll be able to pay for a toll. You don't have to you switch the thing that's out, you put it on the dash. Come on, that's dinosaur technology, comparatively speaking, when your car with the IoT module can actually make a payment with your credit card. Your car is a payment mechanism. Your car will be a payment mechanism, okay? And so that's what we're doing. We're providing this device wallet with AI and blockchain, and it is a wallet. we say this to the blockchain people, that it is a wallet. It's essentially a wallet. And it uses signatures on the blockchain to provide tamper-resistant security. All sensitive data and personal information will be physically protected in kernel via the TE trust zone inside the IoT terminal and chip-level design modules. So it is about security, using the blockchain to continue to attestate the data. Everything is about data. Remember, data is the new oil. It's the new oil.
So you're saying you want your phone to be your wallet?
Oh, your phone is your wallet. I'm saying you want machines will be the new wallet, actually. Your car will be the new wallet. It will pay for things. It is going to happen, especially for autonomous vehicles. Think about 5 years from now, you want to go to SeaTac Airport, you might not call Uber or Lyft. Maybe those industries have already disappeared, but you have an autonomous vehicle. There's nobody in the car, and you enter and you have to push your credit card, push the destination.
Wouldn't
bingo.
you need government protection for that type of security?
Oh yes, but that's why you have IoT modules embedded into automobiles now, and they're using security, and they're also using embedded SIM. See the term embedded SIM? Remember we had that discussion very early on? All these IoT modules would have high level of security if they use an embedded SIM, but very few are using embedded SIM right now. They need to. They will. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. It's going to happen because I'm around. It's going to happen. All right. So next, we're almost at the end. We're almost at the end. This is a short one. Internet of Things devices are regarded as intelligent robots. That's what I kind of explained to you. And the cellular wireless module is the mobile phone that intelligent robots use to surf the internet. I know that's a very strange analogy, but it's a device, and the device uses a module in order to access the internet. It's not a human being, it's a robot, it's a device. It's a device. We will scale deployment of IoT Wallet with our SDK embedded into the modules. So let's look at some facts. Cellular module business for 3G, 4G, and 5G has been around for 20 years. This technology is not new. When I was in analog business, when I was working in the analog wireless world, not even digital cellular, these technologies were around. They weren't digital, but they were around. There are 300 million modules added to the world, and 300 million added to devices, not people, not smartphones, not tablets, but to additional devices. 300 million in 2019. Where did they go? They're in all these cool devices that are coming. The top 10 manufacturers account for 90% of the market share. And these top 10 manufacturers are right here. I know you can't quite see it. We have partnered with 2 Chinese top 10 IoT module manufacturers. One is called Fibercom, the other one is called QuickTel, and they have major shares. And there's 7 other ones. So our SDK is already in their cellular modules, depending on the type of module you use, and we're working with 7 others. My job is to expand that outside of China to the other IoT module vendors, mobile network operators, and et cetera, et cetera.
I've never heard of them. Do you know if they do business with other companies, just license the technology?
They're huge. They're huge. They are huge.
I've never heard of them.
QuickTel and Fibercom. Next slide. Now, Atos positions our SDK, our boat SDK, to enter the IoT, artificial intelligence of things, to guard data assets. Our goal is guarding data assets. Using the blockchain, using the TE. It's all about securing your data, protecting your data. And IoT FinTech powered by boat. So our capabilities are blockchain access with Platon, which is our partner in China for the blockchain. And the devices are secure key generation and usage. Now we're using 2 cool technologies in order to do that, to access the FinTech. And this is just a photo of our SDK. It's really software that's embedded in here. But the key is that both for trusted applications framework, trusted device identification and personalization, privacy, preservation for digital. There are 2 technologies that we're using. This is really, this cryptography is really the blockchain. This is another word for the blockchain. we're using cryptography in the blockchain, and we're using a trusted execution environment, which I told you is a security operating system in the chip, right? We're using these two technologies. Some nomenclature, AITOS SDK includes AI, IoT with blockchain. So, next. Now this is 2 more slides. These are kind of important. So, in your IoT device, your robot, you've got your IoT device here. This is your real-time operating system, your so-called Android operating system. This is your real-time operating system. It has, but it's not really Android for machines and devices. It might be something else, but it could be Android. But there's a mobile control unit, a mobile processor, and with that, that's where our boat resides in the operating system. But we get access to the TEE. See, so we access the TEE inside the IoT device to protect the data and send the data through a platform node in Platon, which is a Shanghai company. We send the data and we protect it 2 ways. We call this threshold sign service. It's just like the dual roots of trust. We're partitioning the keys. Very cool.
So for example, if I buy a phone that's manufactured.
This has nothing to do with phones. This has nothing to do with phones.
If I buy a phone that has this technology that's manufactured in, let's say, Fiji, and just an example, and it's a secure phone. So you're saying that I will be receiving security from Fiji to protect my phone, my data.
No, more than likely, it will be a centralized cloud server somewhere around the world by cloud service providers, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. The service needs to be provided by a cloud service provider. And they're the ones who would actually send the data. They're the ones who will send the data. But remember, cloud service provider, that's what they do. They do cloud things. They don't deal with, technically they don't really deal with smartphones, although you use a smartphone to access the cloud. They're not really providing security when you go into the cloud. That is a problem, that you can use a smartphone inflicted with malware going into the cloud, and wow, if you're a fox in a chicken coop, wow, you're gonna have a field day. There's no security when you access infected data with malware and access in the cloud. You're causing more trouble than it's worth. You're causing lots of trouble. Your smartphone, if it has problems and you're accessing the cloud, there's not enough security in the cloud. You're going to now inflict that cloud with malware and malicious activity. Good luck. Don't do it. How do you know, right? Use an iPhone. They have their own servers for their data. Apple has its own servers for its data. Other device vendors use Android, and then they're using Amazon or Microsoft.
Well, I do have an iPhone. I just have to unlock it because it's locked.
Oh, I see. Anyway, we're almost finished here. The key point here is the boat consists of a trusted framework for these IoT devices and remote attestation. And this is kind of explaining it, how it works from the IoT end through the server to the data. And I've kind of explained it here. There's also a remote server. And we're using a radio access network on the IoT module. Next, this is the last slide, I believe, yeah. Both protection measures. Make sure IoT data is trustable, securely recorded onto the blockchain. And as I mentioned, we do the key partitioning with the TEE, with our boat SDK, and we're using Platon's, it's really an attestation blockchain server as a node, and we're providing key partitioning, spreading of the keys, and remote attestation with tokens. Tokens can scramble your data. Tokens can scramble your data. And it's a security apparatus. Using a token is a security. And we can optionally apply a 2 of 2 threshold sign service, signing these keys with key partitioning where the private keys is composed of 2 partitions. Because the complete private key never appears in any form, even if the IoT device were to be cracked, the attacker could not steal any portion of the partition key. Remember we talked about the dual roots, you're partitioning keys. You're making it very difficult for hackers to steal when they can't get to the keys, get to the entire key. They may get to half of it, they can't get to the whole key. Next slide. Okay, summary. Data collection relies on IoT modules and technology. Data is collected, selected, and integrated, and a massive amount of is analyzed by artificial intelligence, and that's what creates the big data. You analyze the things, you make it into big data. Data is only valuable when it's exchanged through the blockchain. So the blockchain attestates and guarantees through consensus that the data is real. That's why you can trust those coronavirus deaths and who's gotten infected, who's died, and who's been cured, because the Chinese are using the blockchain to send it out to the world, which is a good thing. Data, as I said, is like oil, but that data needs protection in the open source world. Blockchain attestation helps data become real and intended. Key is intended. You don't want fake data. Next. And this is me when I was working and living in China. I actually played softball. That's the Beijing Yairen, that's the Olympic Village. I played softball on two different teams when I was living and working there. My company's called Iot in Chinese. It's 我脸科技 Iot. Thank you. Here's my WeChat if you want to connect with me on WeChat. That's the end of this presentation. I know this one was a little bit more abstract, but this is the first time I've ever given it, so bear in mind. Thank you very much. Thanks. Hope you like this stuff. Hope it was good.
Nice job.
Was it okay?
You did
Oh,
a good
yeah.
job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
And now I can send this off to you.